Hello everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays. It's the last one before Heavensward launches, and I have to record it so far in advance that this is almost a full 24 hours before the video is going to go live. Closer to like 20 or something like that, but with how little time I have tonight and tomorrow, I really need to make sure I get this recorded now. So yeah, Friday, early access. It's going to be nuts. Just so you guys know, on Wednesday on Twitch, there's going to be a 24-hour streamathon. I won't be live streaming. I want it to really be used to highlight all the other Final Fantasy XIV streamers that are out there on Twitch. So definitely go over to Twitch on Wednesday. Check it out. If I have a link, I'm pretty sure I have a link someplace to it. I'll include that in the description of the video. Thursday, I'm not really sure what I'll be doing for a stream because the servers are going to be down. I consider just streaming and, like, I don't know, maybe do something with E3 or maybe after it starts patching, maybe just live stream myself patching and talking to people. And then, of course, Friday morning, bright and early, somewhere between 3 and 5 a.m. Eastern, I'll be going live, and I'll be live pretty much 12 to 16 hours that day, recording stuff for YouTube, leveling in the new areas, leveling my ninja, briefly touch upon the Astrologian, the Dark Knight, and Machinist. Just wanted to include all this stuff here at the beginning of this video, because otherwise I was probably going to forget about it later. So anyway, with all that news out of the way, I'll be sure to include details in the description of the video. Let's get into the Q&A for the week, because like I said, my time is very limited, so I want to get into that right away. First question. Hey, Mrhappy. Question for week number 44. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays. Anyways, my question for today. Jeez, that's a long intro. So I'm trying to get back into uploading onto YouTube and posting 14-related content for Heavensward. My question for you is, how do you isolate your voice and tune out all the ambient noise for your live comms or Let's Plays? I currently play 14 on PS4 and I record with an Elgato. Any tips and help are appreciated. As always, thank you for answering my question. I look forward to the next episode. Thank you for the question, and it's a pretty good one. I don't get questions about that too often, but really it's get your microphone away from your computer, get it away from like an air conditioner or any sort of fan that would blow air onto it, and also make sure your microphone has a setting that concentrates all of its volume out of a single direction. My Blue Yeti has 4 different settings. One of them is it'll pick up all the sound in the room, but one of them is just picks it up in a cone in the direction I am facing. It makes it so it doesn't pick up as much ambient noise as it usually would. Other than that, also having a desk clamp with a shock mount definitely helps. So that way if you hit your desk, it's not as loud or it doesn't shake it as much. Those are definitely all things that can help. And also just talk into the microphone. Like, don't try and talk like this from over here, because then you're not going to be loud and you're not going to be clear. And then you're going to have to talk louder and you're going to ruin your voice. So definitely make sure you're talking into the microphone as well. Generally, that tends to drown out any of the remaining ambient noise. I could tell you to go buy soundproof, materials and like put it in your room and, cover up your doors and things like that. It really depends on the situation, but those things should all help. Next question. Yo, Haps, do you think 11's dancer job could be implemented in 14? Hells yeah, I think it could. It's been a question I've gotten before, and it's one I actually think it would be pretty cool. If so, what role do you see it filling? Melee-based healer. As awkward as that sounds, that's the role I would want it to fill. Would be a melee healer. So, yeah, are there any jobs in 14 that play similarly to Dancer? No. Definitely no jobs that play anywhat similar to Dancer. But I think it would be cool if they could somehow incorporate Dancer. I just don't think it's high on their priority list in terms of jobs they're thinking of adding. Next question. Hey, Mrhappy, doing again with a question for Mrhappy Mondays. With the pattern of new jobs being from the pool of Final Fantasy Tactics jobs, do you think we'll ever see classes lesser represented in Final Fantasy in general, like the Mystic, Time Mage, or even the Orator, appear in the future content? Yoshi P doesn't want to just look at Final Fantasy 11 and go, yeah, we need to do all that. So I think there's a very high possibility. Some of them are a little far-reaching, like the Orator. The Mystic is a maybe. I'd be more akin to like the Mystic Knight or the Rune Fencer or something along those lines. Time Mage would probably be rough, but he's definitely not just looking to say, hell, those Final Fantasy 11 jobs, let's just use those. Which I'm actually kind of glad for, because they don't need to have the exact same pool of jobs choosable between the two. Alright, next post. Well, hello there. 2 questions for this week. Question 1. Would you like to go on an 8 with me? It's kind of like a date, but you get the D late. You already got me. Now I gotta answer question number 2, because otherwise this is just gonna get awkward. Question 2. In Heavensward, every job seems to be getting its skill cap raised. Even the easiest jobs like Paladin, Bard, and Black Mage are getting all kinds of new combo stances or self-buffs that need specific managing or timing to optimize to its full potential. I feel like this will make the typical duty finder problems, where people have no idea what's going on or what they're doing, even worse. I've had my fair share of horror stories in the duty finder, like warriors not using Butcher's Block, Paladins not using Flash while tanking multiple mobs, or Black Mages spamming Freeze and AoE and doing a Fire Blizzard, Thunder, Fire Blizzard, Thunder rotation on single targets. And when you try to explain to them that they should be using certain abilities, they either ignore you or tell you to shut the fuck up, because they know better. Sorry, I had to get into the question. So Square Enix increasing the gap between casual play and max potential for all jobs. How do you feel this will translate to solo queue duty finder? It could translate to one of two ways. Either people actually have to step their game up and learn how certain things work. It's one thing if you're leveling and you don't understand how the combo system works, or you're not reading your abilities. That's one thing, because as long as you don't believe it functions a certain way and are completely ignoring everyone else. Sorry for clearing my throat a little bit too much. I don't know why all of a sudden I feel the need to do that. Or the duty finder will be made so easy it won't matter. Even the people who aren't doing their maximized DPS. I mean, not like you've ever needed maximized DPS, but even it'll be so that even if you're not learning from where you were before, that you'll still be able to clear it later, which in turn, because of the increased skill cap, may be seen as the duty finder being even easier. I think it's just going to be a matter of people need to read their abilities, people need to understand how they work together, and they need to be open to advice. Of course, if you approach someone and say, hey, you're doing this wrong, stop doing that, like if you say it like rude like that, of course they're going to tell you to shut the fuck up. But as long as you approach them like, hey man, just so you know, I don't want to give you a hard time about it, but you know, that's generally like a less efficient way of doing it. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick. Like, you really have to play off that you're trying not to be a dick, because if you just tell them outright they're doing it wrong, they're not going to be receptive to you, even if you're right. So definitely, you know, be nicer when you're trying to explain it to people, and just hope that you're running into people that are at least willing to listen to advice. Next question. What's happening, Haps? Thanks for answering my previous questions. Quick question. Why don't we have Phoenix Downs in this game? We do, but they only work out of combat. It's generally because you want a battle raise to be a utility that people bring because of a job. And if everybody brings Phoenix Downs, then it makes it so that fights where, you know, generally you would have your healer or your summoner running lower on MP because of the errors made by the party, that level of skill is taken out of it, and then Phoenix Downs become mandatory for progression. They become super expensive, and yes, that opens up the market a little bit more, and yes, it is something that's very true to the Final Fantasy series. Items like Phoenix Downs are a major part of it, but in terms of balancing, it throws this really weird funk into everything. So I wouldn't ever expect Phoenix Downs to ever be a mainstay thing that you would expect in raids, so I just don't expect them to get changed at all. Next question. Hi, Happy. 2 quick questions, and I can tell because it's a very short post. Is there a class which is faster to level so that I can get to 50 quickly? Tanks and healers, because their dungeon queues are just so fast. It makes leveling them so fast. And 2, do we know what changes will be to make leveling easier when they will come out? The main story from 1 to 50 is getting its EXP doubled in the expansion, so that way you don't need to do fates and leaves and side dungeons and side quests to get from 1 to 50 as a new player when Heavensward comes out. As for your second, your third, your fourth, etc. classes, it's not really going to change all that much, at least nothing they've told us yet. It's really going to be all about that first character experience. You're still going to have the armory bonus, the rest of the XP, all that stuff, but they don't really need to make it that much easier. It's pretty easy as it is right now. The toughest thing is probably the low-level roulette queues. And once you get past that, you could do a low-level roulette queue a day, a guild-house roulette queue a day, and you could get like a level and a half out of that. So that's just 2 things. It's just a matter of that wait time and people not optimizing the wait time of the low-level roulette by doing fates and leaves, or working on their challenge logs or their hunting logs. People not making use of all the avenues of experience out there. That's really the biggest thing. I'm interested to see if they'll change the leveling outside of the main story at all 1 to 50, but we have to see, because I have a feeling they won't. Next question. Hello, Mr. Happy. No soldiery bonus here. Oh. But I did have 2 quick questions, and this time I mean it. I'm a big fan of the 14 storyline. It's really the only reason I decided to buy the game. Understandably, I'm super excited to see how the story will progress with the new expansion, but right now I'm torn between wanting to spam the story and wanting to level new jobs as my main. Normally this wouldn't be an issue, but I'm moving overseas in a couple of months, so I have limited time. Think it'll be possible to effectively do both? Yes. They are not giving you too much else to do for the first 2 weeks of the expansion, so enjoy the story. That's all I'll say to you. And 2, have you ever played 14 in the first-person view? Yeah, as a joke, quite a few times. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone who's seriously trying to do content. It's pretty hilarious to do if you're looking for a challenge, though, like first-person Titan Extreme. That is first-person, no user interface Titan Extreme. That's a fun time. Next question. Hello, Mr. Happy there. Second time here. Long time follower. Quick question. Do you think it's more likely to see soon, TM, a brand new class or job, or a second variation from the original classes like a DPS job off Gladiator, or the Dodge Tank Ninja? We won't see ninjas tanking in this game, I'll tell you that much. They're probably not going to branch off any more jobs off of our current jobs, off of our current classes. I think they learned that the Scholar Summoner thing didn't really work out all that well, because if they ever want to buff Summoner, it's an inherently a buff to Scholar and vice versa, unless they directly target job abilities. And that makes things kind of rough. Like when they made Ruin 2 less MP, it made Scholars have even easier MP problems. I think they've learned that between that and the ability point differences, branching 2 jobs off a single class is not really that effective. I think they might lean more towards Paladins having, you know how they have like a DPS stance and a tank stance right now? They may eventually lean towards Paladin itself having 2 different skill trees to go down. Yoshi P's mentioned this in the past, but the skill trees are very basic. They're not like, you know, you get all these choices to super customize your job. It's just, do I want to be a tank paladin or a DPS paladin? I expect to see that before I see any more jobs branch off of current classes. As for brand new jobs between 3.0 and 4.0, probably not. It's a lot of work for them to get those done, so I wouldn't expect any new jobs, if any at all, until 4.0. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy. Insert cliche comment about how I love your videos. Good one. Good on you, man. I have a few questions. Have you ever thought of doing updated guides for the classes? I would love to have some tips on my main classes because I know I suck. Come on, man. First of all, my first piece of advice, you gotta have more confidence in that. Second of all, not until Heavensward comes out. And even then, I want it to be collaborated with other YouTubers and guide makers, because I focus on 1 or 2 jobs. And those are the 2 jobs that I know inside and out. And then you have people like Xeno, who know Warrior inside and out. And then you have people like Ash, who knows Scholar inside and out. And then you have Miz, who knows Paladin inside and out. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of different content creators out there, and I'd rather use the guides as a means of highlighting them in case they're not really that keen on making guides like that. But I want more experts in my guides in the future, so that's why I never remade any of them as the patches started coming out. Second question, do you know any mnemonics for the ninja mudras, or is it all down to muscle memory? I don't know is mnemonics a thing? Is that like, I don't know. It's Mnemonics. Here, I'm gonna Google that real quick. Hold on, I'm Googling. I've never heard that. Oh, it's definitely a thing. Mnemonics are memory devices that help learners recall larger pieces of information, especially in forms of lists like characteristics, steps, stages, parts, phase. I have never heard this word used in my life. You just muscle memory. You just gotta know. You just gotta set it up so it's like, I know 1, 2, 3 is sweet. Or, like, let's say you put your mudras on 1, 2, and 3. You're planning on putting them someplace else. But you know, 1, 2, 3, Suiton. 3, 2, 1, Huton. 1, 2, Raiton. 2, 1, Katan. And then 1, 3, 2, Doton. It's just a matter of memorizing, not the names of them, not their location on the screen, but the order in which you press them. That's the best thing I can say to help with the ninja ones. For level 30, you only have 1, and that's Fuma Shuriken, but it will get a little bit more difficult later on. And question number 3, this one is not to Realm Reborn related. That's fine. This isn't only for asking Final Fantasy XIV questions, as you saw from the first question here. I was wondering if you're ever going to try ESO Tamriel Unlimited. No. And especially not because they separate the PS4 version from the PC version. I don't like that. I mean, I play Final Fantasy XIV, so of course I know that can be managed. ESO is just crap when I played it on the PC. And yes, they have made improvements. I will acknowledge that. They've definitely made improvements. But it's just caught between an Elder Scrolls game and an MMO, and to me, it doesn't do enough on either side to really draw me in. I love the Elder Scrolls universe. I love MMOs. I thought it was going to be a beautiful combination, and I had such high hopes. But it just wasn't my kind of MMO in the end. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy. First time asking a question. Sultry bonus. They said that themselves. I know that they've said the new jobs will be getting some endgame weapons, just not level 50 relics, correct? You mean like level 50 endgame items, just not the level 50 relics, correct? I've heard primals and ironworks be mentioned, and there's multiple sources of them. Now, does this mean they're the only ones? No. There's probably going to be a bunch of other weapons, because they expect you to improve your item level between... well, actually, no, that's not true. There's probably going to be other ones. I'd say I'd be surprised if there wasn't more than just primals and ironworks. I would be very, very surprised if that was the case. Oh, and that's the question. All right, we're good. Maybe a soldiery weapon too. I don't know. I don't know what the status of soldiery is going to be when the expansion launches. But yeah, I expect there'll be more weapons. Next question. Hey, Apps, you got me to make a DreamNet account. Well done. Have a soldiery bonus. It literally says under their name, posts 1. And this is that one post. Question for week 44 with Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask questions and you answer them. Well, you almost got it right. Sort of. You did it from a different perspective, but I'm proud of you for trying to say the whole thing. Are you disappointed in any of the new job abilities? How about the new job abilities for the old jobs? No, you know, I wouldn't say I'm disappointed. I'd say I'm still curious. I was more disappointed in some of the abilities for the new jobs, honestly, like Living Dead for Dark Knight, which I think is cool. It's very thematic. It just seems overcomplicated for something that Paladin and Warriors already do the same and or better. And then you had that ability where you place it on a party member, and if they die, you get health and mana back. It's like, I don't know. That's like, unless there's mechanics that specifically kill people off, like there's no way to avoid it, then that's great. Then that's great. But I don't know. Just there were some of the new abilities I just wasn't really a fan of. For the old jobs, though, mostly I was okay with them. And then also, is there anything exciting you thought Square Enix could have implemented in 3.0 but chose not to? Roaming Primal, something they could have done and said they were going to do back in 2.0. Although I don't know how the whole free company summoning thing would work. It still would have been cool to have more of those large-scale fates, and I hope they have a lot of large-scale fates, even if they are just for Glamour gear in Heavensward, so it gives me a reason to go out into the world a little bit more. Next question. Hello, Happy Man. I'm afraid my question from last week will have to be rephrased since my words were misinterpreted, unfortunately. In the matter of our hero, the protagonist, what I meant is not about proactively seeking evil to be vanquished or taking matters into their own hands, but simply making them more animated in the cutscenes. An example being if our hero was surrounded, chances are an NPC would rescue them and be all badass, instead of our character getting themselves out of the trouble with their currently assigned skill set, or something like that. Simply put, Enix needs to make us root for our own character that we make, that truly interacts and gets involved, even if it meant giving us text box responses to choose from to elicit a different response, rather than a bland, lifeless husk that they are. I hope you get what I mean. I don't remember what the question was. I don't remember. So I just read that. Made it onto the show. Next question, Lil Master. Hey Haps, soldiery bonus. I recently started following your videos. I like how you put a lot of time into them. I wanted to know if you can explain to me about RNG. RNG always seems to make me cry a little inside, seeing someone get the drop I want, or it would troll by giving me stuff I want when I begin to curse the game out. Why do the RNG gods love to see us suffer before giving us the item we really want? Thanks in advance and keep up the good work. I don't know exactly what it means you want, because it sounds like you know what RNG is. You just want me to console you with how it's worked. And so most RNG is padded. What that means is that it's made so that if something has a 10% chance dropping the first time, the second time you try to do it, it'll have a 15% chance. It'll be RNG. It's random when it'll drop, but slowly your chances get better and better. That's how a lot of RNG operates in other MMOs. In Final Fantasy 14, this has a 10% drop rate. Oh, you didn't get it? Still has a 10% drop rate. There's just no padding. There's no mitigation when it comes to failure versus, you know, just trying over and over again. It is 100% unmitigated RNG, random chance. So it may seem like RNGesus is just toying with you, but it's really just out of your control. Next question. Konnichiwa, Mr. Happy. Virgin to the forum. Wait, just my first time here, so 100 soldiery bonus. It says you have 2 posts. So you have a post someplace else. Anyway, I swear I watch your video, so it's going to be a one-shot. Question for week 44. This is a long question. Woo! My free company has been saving up skill ever since we heard about the airships and how housing will play a part in it. We've had so long in a medium house, but this concern pushed us to make us one of the large houses. The airships will benefit more from it. They won't. No matter what the size of your house is, you'll still be able to have the same amount of airships. We will move either way, so we are pretty much determined. Our main problem right now is location. Wards, I understand, might be growing. The housing in Ishgard will be a thing. It's just that they're far off in the future. We are getting new wards in the current areas in the X-Pack release. Not at release. In 3.1, we will be getting new housing wards, and that's when the free company airship thing really starts. But the size of your house doesn't matter anyway, just so you know. Since the large houses in the X-Pack will differ a lot in price for the current ones, we won't be able to really buy the house as soon as the new ward drops. So do we buy a large house as soon as we can, or do we wait for Ishgard house to be available? Ishgard housing ain't going to be available to like a year and a half, 2 years down the line, so I would not wait for that. Just know your medium house is going to be completely functional, just the same exact functionality as large houses when it comes to free company airship content. And the last one, of the information available up to now, which will be the best raid group compositions. There's no way I could say that. That's a shot in the dark. There's still so many things missing about the new jobs and how their abilities interact with the bosses themselves. That's a boss-to-boss thing, coming up with a best raid composition, now that there's 13 different jobs. Alright, I'm going to throw one out in the dark. Completely just no supporting information, right? So take this complete bullshit right here. Paladin, Warrior, Astrologian, Scholar, Machinist, Black Mage, Ninja, Dragoon. Ninja Monk for progression, Ninja Dragoon for farming. Complete bullshit, but that's going to be my guess. Next question. Repost of questions from the last few weeks. Roars and salutations, Mr. Happy. I've been playing Monk and Bard again, and I've come up with a few minor questions about them. First question. Why do you think Monk can only use shoulder tackle from 10 to 20 yalms away and no closer? Probably because they need that space to create enough momentum to hit the target hard enough to stun them? I'm really stretching with that one, but that's the only thing that makes sense to me, because that annoys the hell out of me when you're like 21 away or you're 9 away and you're just like, ugh. But that's my guess. Second question, do you think Square Enix would ever consider making Swiftsong on Bard able to be used in battle? Probably not. Yeah, probably not. Really the only reason is that they just won't. I mean, there are probably reasons where they'll put it up to help people dodge mechanics and strictly that, as opposed to people learning how to dodge them on their own jobs. They then rely on Swiftsong in order to dodge mechanics, and whenever Swiftsong's not being played, they go, "Why aren't you Swiftsonging?" Also, to have to stop and sing that just for people to dodge mechanics, DPS loss, so probably not gonna ever see that. Next question. Hey, Hap. I like it. Question for week 44. I liked Dancer in 11. How do you see it fitting lore-wise and job-wise? Maybe I should have read these questions before I actually started picking them out. Lore-wise, I mean, listen, if we can sing songs that give people buffs, I wouldn't be surprised at dances giving people buffs. Like, that's just, to me, it's a fantasy world. It'll fit, no matter what. Their dances literally have magical properties. They're ancient dances that have magical properties or something like that, or invoke ether out of the ground, like a rain dance almost equivalent, but for dancers. And job-wise, melee healer. Next question. Hey, Happy, first time here. Soldiery bonus. I got 2 questions for week 44. So I just got done watching your week 43 video and heard you hated Hamlet. And since I never played 1.0, I decided to look it up, and to be honest, it didn't seem that bad of an instance. I know it only seemed boring because of 1.0's combat style. So my first question was, would you want this glorious thing to come back? No. See, okay, the worst thing about Hamlet wasn't Hamlet itself. It was the means by which you had to play it in order to maximize efficiency. Rewards were based on handing in gear to the Hamlet every week. So if you handed in enough gear to give yourself enough standing within that Hamlet, then the rewards were enhanced. So it was biased towards crafters in the first place, them getting the best rewards over everything else, or whoever had the most gil to just buy stuff to hand in for points, whichever one. And it was based on, it was server-wide. Server-wide, whoever had the best standing got the best rewards. So that wouldn't roll over well at all with this modern, with the whole modern role of Final Fantasy XIV now. Also, in order to actually get enough points to get full credit, you needed to just kite an enemy around for like 20 minutes, just doing nothing. It was so boring. Ugh. I know crafters who hated that, and then the RNG on it was just god-awful, so you had to do it for like 12 hours a day to even get to your Relic quest. I don't want it ever again. My second question would be regarding our new skills in Heavensward. So during the Hamlet vids, I watched there were some skills, and I'm pretty sure I heard were the names of some of the new skills I'm going to come out in Heavensward. For example, Divine Veil. Does that mean the new skills are just going to be the skills that were out in 1.0? Some of them do seem to be returning skills. Divine Veil was, I think, Holy Sucker in 1.0 for the Paladin. A lot of them are 1.0 abilities rebranded and remade to fit within a Realm Reborn. So yeah, some of those abilities are, but not all of them. A lot of them, pretty much almost all of them, are brand new and did not exist back in 1.0. That's just an example of one as you listed. Actually, that's not even, Divine Veil is not even the one. Holy Sucker was the other ability Paladin's getting, the self-heal one. I don't remember, but yeah, there are some of the rebranded 1.0 abilities coming back. Next question. Hey, Happy. Question for next week. So I main Scholar, and I'm feeling pretty confident when it comes to DPSing in both 4 and 8-man content. My question is, why do you think there are so many healers that are afraid to DPS? It seems some people are scared to use Cleric stance. I've been noticing this a lot more, and I've been trying to gear my Monk. Do you really think giving a White Mage offensive skills will make them want to DPS more? Well, I mean, you could say that about any of the new jobs. Do you think that, you know, giving Bard Minuet will make Bards want to move around less? Theoretically, yes, because that'll be maximizing the efficiency of their job. But most people don't trust the Duty Finder. That's a really big thing. A lot of people don't trust the Duty Finder when it comes to healing and DPSing at the same time. Like World of Darkness, you have 6 healers. But if all 6 healers go in thinking, I'll let the other healers heal while I DPS, bad things are going to happen. Meanwhile, if 5 of the healers are healing and 1 of them's DPSing and they're yelling at that one guy, that's kind of ridiculous. As for whether or not it'll make them want to DPS more, they should really learn it. Like, being scared, a lot of it comes from somebody yelling at you for doing it one time. It comes from a lot of early experiences. Some of it just comes from preference. I want to play a healer. I don't want to DPS. It's like an old school, like, I picked a healer, I want to play a healer. And that's fine as well. It's not so much scared as I feel like people just want to stay within their role and what their role is titled as. It's like the opposite problem that people have. Like, people have a problem with the Trinity, that it's DPS, healer, tank, and that there's no room for growth. It's like the opposite problem of that. It's like, I am this role within the Trinity. That is the only role I wish to fulfill. And it's a choice of playstyle, but I do wish that healers would go out of their way to try and learn DPS more, especially if you're someone who wants to take on raiding a little bit more seriously. I mean, you can speed up the fight, and it just has to be, it's learned, you know. It's not something you'll get right the first time. It's something you'll have to learn. It may be difficult at first, but I do hope that people are a little bit more receptive to it in the expansion. Next question. Hey, Happy, is there anything you're looking forward to or hope to see at this year's E3? Well, Dishonored 2 now is something I'm looking forward to. Honestly, E3 to me is just like, everything that's good about E3 gets spoiled ahead of time, and then there's like those few announcements that stick their way, and you're like, oh. But it's almost always just like, I want to know more about the games I already know about. So I don't get too hyped for E3, but I love talking about the things that come out at E3. So expect quite a few videos this week. Next question. Hey there, Mrhappy. Watched the QA video for the first time last week, and now I've got 2 questions. Ooh. Do you think that the Dark Knight's Living Dead ability will be able to survive attacks that go through Hallowed Ground and Holmgang? No, I don't. I think they're still going to make it so that certain attacks just go through those effects. I think Living Dead's not going to be any different. Otherwise, that whole, like, I think it's a shitty ability, that would totally go away if it could bypass abilities that go through Hallowed Ground and Holmgang, because, whew, that would be amazing. Are you kidding me? And do you think Alexander will be similar to Coil in layout or more like Castrum? It'll be probably similar to Coil. You mean like boss break, boss break, boss break? Yeah. I think it'll be boss break, boss break, boss break. There's pros and cons to both systems, as much as I would prefer something along the lines of Castrum and Praetorium. We were discussing it on State of the Realm, and there are pros and cons to both systems. I think it's going to follow the Coil system, more or less. Next question, Hero. Well, hello, Mr. Happy. Question for week 44 of Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays. For that, though, I'd like to say well done, and thanks to the latest episode of State of the Realm. You keep exceeding my expectations each week. Oh, and that last week's post show gave me a headache, where 6 shots of tequila that same day could not. So thanks for that, too. Is it possible to form a team comp around the idea of healers DPSing less and healing more by removing utility mitigation tools, resulting in maximum potential output from DPS jobs? Not with the way this game is really designed. Let me read the example. Example might be Paladin, Dark Knight, Dragoon, Ninja Bard, either Caster, White Mage, Scholar, Stance, Astrologian. So no more Storm's Path, Super Virus, or Dragon Kick, resulting in more raid. Yeah, but then you kind of lose the whole thrill of I bring this to a raid, and that homogenizes the jobs a lot. You'd have to consider a lot of things, removing a lot of utility from jobs in order to make that work. Like, yeah, I don't know. That would be really... And then that doesn't change. They would still have to completely change the scale of the fights, because it's expected that if you're going into content and you are at the forefront of progression and you want to clear it as soon as possible, that you want every edge possible. You want all of your DPS doing their maximum job. Dragon Kick's already part of your rotation. Storm's Path, while it may not be, is a huge utility that, again, allows the healers to DPS more, allows everyone to be a little bit safer so you can avoid deaths. Ninja with their Trick Attack and their Goads, it's like, that's what utility is. And even though you're specifically targeting mitigation utility, that's a really thrilling thing about being a job, knowing I have this power. This is a part of what makes my job so great. And Dragon Kick, you also have to consider lowers blunt resistance, so I guess that's like half of an example, unless they worked it into another ability. I think it would kind of take some of the fun out of a lot of the jobs, and would just homogenize them even more. Next question. Hey, Haps, Zane Lionheart from Greg Server. I know who you are. I know. Y'all need to tip. I know. First time asking a question. So I already pre-ordered Heavensward and was wondering, do I still need to pick up the physical copy from GameStop if I pre-ordered it? If you're planning on playing the game, yeah, your early access code is only good from June 19th to June 27th. If you do not have a full-blown registration code to enter, which will be in the physical box if that's what you ordered, by the 27th, they will discontinue your access to the Heavensward areas. You need that registration code, so yes, go get it. Next question. Hi, Mr. Happy. I have a serious question and a for fun question. Out of everything that's been announced with Heavensward that has me excited is free company crafting with airships and house modification. What's a good way to be prepared for that before the expansion releases? I was thinking about gathering mats and shards and crystals and clusters, but that seems like a no-brainer. Other than that, I thought a free company's need is having all crafting classes represented by multiple people. Yeah, the more people you have crafting in a free company, the more people you have contributing to the airship building. That's going to be a big thing. You also want to start thinking of who's actually going to design your free company airships. Don't give it to that idiot who trolls everybody. Give it to somebody who's dead serious about it. Other than that, most of the materials you're going to need are going to come from Heavensward, so that's stuff you'll just have to do after Heavensward comes out. As for question number 2, idea for a healer. Acupuncturist or a masseuse. They work with TP instead of MP. This is my Dancer. This is the 3rd time something that represents Dancer has come up here. That's pretty much what Dancer did. They used TP instead of MP. So as the 3rd question I've answered, and you want them to be up close to their target to heal them. Yeah, pretty much that's what a Dancer does. So sure, I'll take it. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy. Question for week 44. I've been wondering, which crafting classes do you think will make the new job weapons? I feel like blacksmiths will make dark weapons, but I'm wondering which classes do you think will make the machinist guns in the Astrologian's divine deck? Oh, first of all, you have to remember the Astrologian is the globe, not the deck. The deck is just a mechanic. The globe is the actual weapon. Probably alchemy for Astrologians. Probably a mix of alchemy, goldsmithing, blacksmithing, and well, armor shouldn't, because armorer. I'd expect those 3: alchemy, blacksmith, goldsmith. Those are the 3 I'm expecting to see the most of too, because I don't expect guns and swords to be made out of wood, and I don't know how a wooden Astrologian globe would look. So sorry, Carpenter, but I'm gonna throw you to the wayside here. Next question. Hey, Happy. Question for Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays weekly Q&A show, where you ask me, oh, see, now you're trying to fix the thing at the beginning, where you ask me questions and I answer them. There we go. Wow, that's a mouthful. Yeah, I agree. Don't do that anymore. Just a quick question for week 44. Yoshi P said that open world mobs are going to become much more powerful. Do you think this means we may see enemy classes wielding job stones, kind of like Imperial Shadows from the Ninja Job quest, and what's his face from the Summoner quest? I think it would actually be pretty cool to fight Beastmen and Imperials that use job abilities like Jump and Bard Songs for damage resistant buffs and whatnot. What are your thoughts on something like this? I think it would be cool too. I would like to see Summoners and Scholars start being represented by enemy types. I'd like to see the new jobs represented by enemy types, although it'd be kind of weird if we saw a Dark Knight, because a Dark Knight is a very specific thing. That's the thing. A lot of jobs are not really things that the Beast Tribes, they're man-made. The Beast Tribes would have to learn it from us. Or they'd have to learn it from some ancient civilization where we learned ours from, which isn't totally out of, possibility. I just think lore-wise it'd be kind of difficult to work it in, but I'm sure they could figure something out, and I'd like to see it. Next question. Hey, Haps. Woo, from Behemoth, checking in before Heaven's dropping on us. My question for you, what do you think EXP will be like from Coil or EX Primals? I don't think they'll give experience points, man. Will farming those be a viable option to level our new jobs? Definitely not. Definitely not going to be a viable means of leveling your new jobs. Would they ever do a Coil roulette? That would be interesting. Probably not, also. Probably just no. Well, that's 3, but who's counting? You are. No, I mean, those were my answers to those 3 questions, so yay! Next question. Hey, Haps. Long-time viewer, first-time poster. Hope you liking that soldiery bonus. This question might be a long one. I'll see if I can try shortening it. It has to do with leveling alternate classes on characters from 1 to 60. What we know so far about leveling 1 to 50 for Heavensward is that Story Quest EXP will be doubled. That seems to simply imply Dungeon and Fate EXP will be remaining the same. While I might be okay with that decision, they seem to also be making it sound like 51 to 60 will be taking the same amount of time as getting from 1 to 50 in a Realm Reborn currently, given the main story is roughly the same length. It's basically going to be doubling the amount of time it takes to get a new class to max level after you finish your main. Do we know if there's going to be any more leveling changes made yet? They probably will, but they just haven't told us what they are yet. I imagine some of the 1 to 50 stuff is really going to be toned up, like Hunting Log, EXP, and Dungeon and Fates and Leads. I imagine those will be tuned up, but they haven't definitively told us anything yet, so we're still in the dark about that one. Next question. Hey, Happy. First time asking a question. Soldiery bonus, but I know who you are. I have one question for Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays. What flying mounts do you think we will see in future patches? Flying Magitech mount. That Sword Hildebrand has. And Yoshi P. Next question. Hi, Happy. I've heard you mention before how you need to buy Heavensward on all platforms and how you wouldn't be able to log in if you logged out in a Heavensward area that logged on the platform. You didn't buy the expansion for. I'm concerned about other Heavensward content such as new jobs, leveling past 50, becoming an hour raw, and Heavensward exclusive gear and items. Must also expect my frustration that with unable to log into a different zone. In the event, I would have to use another platform. Yes, they should have the right to keep me from Heavensward content, but being unable to log in while I'm paying a subscription is not acceptable. How do you think Square will deal with this issue? They already did. They told you what'll happen if you do it. That's pretty much how they're dealing with it. You know, you're gonna know it's like, okay, I need to do this, this, and this. And there's also the option. There's options out there. I'm not gonna name them right here when it comes to, you know, logging onto your character to move it in the case of an emergency. But I think you'll be fine with being an Owl Ra. And with Heavensward exclusive gear and items, I think you'll be fine with that. Hell, you might even be okay on the new jobs. It may literally just be the areas. I'd expect maybe the new jobs might cause a little bit of trouble when it comes to logging in, but just don't be in the areas. Just try to stay off Heavensward related things if you know you're going to be logging on a different platform, or just make sure you have it on the different platforms in the first place. I don't think they're going to, I think that is how they're dealing with it. They're letting you know because of all these licensing issues, this is how it has to be. I like this. Hey, Happy. Expert roulette for Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays. Pick one question at random and answer that. And you can't see it, but he's actually giving me 3 spoiler tags, so I can't see the questions until I press show. I'm going to go with question 3, the final question. What nerfs to the current Relic questline are you expecting to see? Well, it's going to cost almost nothing to get your Zenith, for example. The Atma drop rate's probably going to shoot up to like 50%. The Animus books are probably going to cut down the number of mobs you need, the number of everything you need for all the books in total. The Novus will probably make 1 Alexandrite be equal to way more of, or 1 meld to way more points. Like, for example, let's say that a tier 4 materia is plus 9 crit, and you meld 1 on, it may just give you 9 points of crit instead of anything else, you know. So it's just about getting to the 75 stats and not about melding them one at a time. That way you could speed it up really quick with tier 4s by just doing like far fewer tier 4s than before, or you could just spam tier 1s to get it all the way up. Those are the changes I expect from Novus. Nexus, even faster lights. Zodiac, better drop rates, and I don't think they need to change this Zeta at all. Maybe just more lights again. But those are all the changes that I expect. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, keep up the good work. Love your vids. Thank you. So you know what new jobs in Heavensward will be getting Ironworks weapons. With this in mind, do you think there'll be other token weapons for the new jobs as well? For example, new job I-90 weapons from tokens received from the weekly quest to defeat Ifrit, Garuda, and Titan Extreme. I'd be pretty surprised if they went that far out of their way. Like, I answered the question that was like this before. I'd be pretty surprised if they went that in-depth with it, but like I said, I definitely expect more weapon types. Just, I don't know about that kind of depth or how many different weapons they're going to offer. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, Baru here, and I got a thought for you. Wow, I've been trying to answer these questions so fast I can't even talk anymore. If you don't mind responding for Mr. Happy Mondays, aka Mondays with Mr. Happy, episode 44, can you believe it will be 13 episodes till 1 year rolls around? Wait, 13 episodes. It's 52 weeks in a year. I'm not gonna say anything. So to my knowledge, we know little of the rest of the world that Eorzea is on. We got Eorzea with a floating continent. We seem we are pretty proficient at getting around via aetherites, airships, and soon flying mounts. Is there, or do you think there are other lands out there? I mean, there are. There's the land of Doma. We know there's Garlemald. We know there's Mericidia to the south, or there used to be Mericidia to the south. There's tons of other lands out there. I don't know about other dimensions, but there are tons of other lands out there. Trust me. We're probably going to be going to some of those lands at some point in the future. But we still haven't even finished exploring Eorzea, so we still got a long way to go before we get to those. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy. Question for Mr. Happy Mondays, aka Mondays with Mr. Happy, episode 44. With games such as Clash of Clans, Summoner Wars, and other games that have clan versus clan battles, do you think Final Fantasy could work something out with this? I'm not exactly sure on the format, but perhaps a battle to see who could win over a discovered continent, or a crafting race to build a foothold on something. Just thoughts to get the gears going. I think they would probably make friendly tournaments, just like lore-wise, like friendly competitions between free companies, and I think that's totally doable. Like a free company versus free company PvP PvP match where there's only 2 sides and it's just however many people you brought from your free company, like let's say 24 being the example, just going up against each other on the map. I think that would be pretty cool, but other than that, I'm not really sure. There's going to be a little bit of PvE competition when it comes to the floating islands in 3.1. But other than that, I'm not really sure what they would or could do. And the final question, I got through every question on the forums, every single one. I was so close, I just needed to do every single one. So last question. Hey, Happy, first time asking a question on the Dream Network forums. Half soldiery bonus means you've asked questions on my YouTube videos before. Question for week 44. I know you've said you're not much of a Glamour person yourself, but do you think they'll ever implement a feature in 14 like a Glamour log, like a hunting log or crafting log, but it keeps track of the different armor designs you unlock? You mean like transmogrification, I guess. They should do that. That should already be a thing. It'd be so much more convenient if you were a Glamour person to be able to not need the gear in your actual inventory and to just, in order to cast the Glamour in the first place, I should say, and to just have this log of all the different looks that you found, and just, even if you're going to keep the item, just use those to cast the Glamour. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be a good idea. So thumbs up from me. Thank you everyone for asking your questions. I cannot believe I got through all of them. I made sure to really speed through them all because it's the last one before Heavensward, and I honestly had time in the video. So anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Again, be sure to tune in to check out Twitch on Wednesday. Not my Twitch, but just twitch.tv in general with Final Fantasy 14. Again, I'll include a link in the description of the video. I will be streaming on Friday morning. Do not forget, if you're someone who's going to work and living a normal life, if you're someone who just wants to hang out while we're doing all this fun Heavensward stuff, be sure to stop by. Anyway, I will see you guys next week. I'll still be doing Mondays with Mr. Happy, and until then, take care.